Me, Zach, and we're moving on to another brand new collection to offer for you, and this is our silver piece dollar 4-coin set. So you're going to be getting all 4 of these. They're each individually encapsulated, and then they come in this beautiful glass top wooden box as well.
This is it's difficult to explain to you just how rare these are. Okay.
I can hear it in your voice already.
The United States government issued the peace dollar, basically commemorating the end of World War I. In 1921, they did the first one. It wasn't an official coin in 1921. In 1921, it was a special high-relief version they didn't stack and all that. So they remade the coin. It was supposed to be a one-year-only issue. It was so phenomenally popular that they released it basically to the general public in 1922. Okay. And they made it from 1922 to 1935. What I have here is the first 4 years of the peace dollar. 21s and 22 they made in pretty fair quantities, but 24 and 25 are both very difficult to get. Now here's the key: basically $125 a coin, and when you put in the red oak presentation box, I'm down to maybe $110 a coin, and you're going, well, that seems a bit much for a peace dollar, and it is for a regular circulated peace dollar. It's quite a bit for that. Okay. For an uncirculated peace dollar, it's not a bad price. But for a peace dollar in certified mint state 65, it is unheard of. Now, let me explain to you. In coin collecting, as in any collecting, the single most important determining factor of value is what? Condition. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. These are original coins. They are not reprinted, restruck, or redone in any way, shape, or form. The vast majority of all the peace dollars ever made by the United States government have been destroyed, have been melted down. They are no longer available. Of the coins that remain, a fraction of them remain in uncirculated, which is mint state 60. If you go to a choice uncirculated, which in a nationally advertised catalog I have over here, in a mint state 62, these run about $115 or $118. Then you go to a brilliant uncirculated mint state 63, they're up to about $125. They don't even have a mint state 64, choice brilliant uncirculated, but mint state 65 is a special grade. Mint state 65 is gem brilliant uncirculated. Wow. It is absolutely crucial to the collectability and desirability of a coin to be able to get it in high grade. And peace dollars in mint state 65 represent a 100th to 1,000th of 1% of the coins that even remain in the peace dollar series are certified in mint state 65. This is an absolutely unbelievable find that we have here, particularly when we add the 1924s and the 1925s. Now understand, these are not reprinted, restruck, or redone in any way, shape, or form. These are 100% original. I found a hoard of peace dollars that literally have sat around for nearly 100 years. When we saw them, my jaw just about hit the floor. It has been a decade at least since I saw peace dollars of this quality. The fact that I certify peace dollars all the time. We sell them mint state 63 at $100 or so all the time. What you do not see is mint state 65 at $125. This represents such a tiny fraction, such a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of what the United States government has to offer from 1924 and 1925. Now remember, these are not reprinted, restruck, or redone in any way, shape, or form. These are 100% original. And like I said, the 22s and 23s, you can sometimes find those. But to be able to add in and get the 1924s and 1925s in this ridiculously high grade in mint state 65. And people ask, you know, what does that mean? Well, if these were mint state 66, I'd have to add, literally have to add a zero to that. We'd be $5,000. In mint state 67, I don't even think that there's any that exist in these coins in mint state 67. If they would be literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a piece. They're virtually unheard of and virtually unseen. Now, as we run out here, let me do this very, very quickly.
How nice that it all comes in a set, too. You're not having to search
for 4 years, basically the first 4 years of the peace dollar in the single highest grade I have ever done this set. Isn't that truly and utterly, amazingly spectacular? Now,
it's beautiful.
We are limited in terms of the 24s and 25s. Okay. I have got a few extra of the